here, nigga. Yeah, let's go.
So, have you heard the news? A Florida man ate an alligator. No, I'm just making up some random Florida story. It's always some Florida guy. Anytime you hear some face eating whatever, it's in Florida. So what's happening in Florida? What Florida man is doing now? I think it was like a police chief or something who got up on the news in a press conference and threatened to kill Americans. He's on some, if you spit, if you throw a brick, did you do it? If you spit, if you brick, if you lick, if you pick, we going to kill you. Now, those are not his exact words, obviously, but I think the thing he mentioned was throwing a brick. I think spitting was one of them. And then he had to throw in there, being a little slick, throwing, you point a gun, right? He had to throw in at least one thing that warranted a lethal response. And by the way, throwing the brick, and that's the thing, that's the clever in the way he says it, right? Throwing a brick, there's context, right? If you throw a brick at an officer, I mean, that's a serious assault. I mean, what if you hit him in his head? I mean, seriously, that could cause serious bodily harm. And based on, I believe, the standard police protocol, that's when lethal force is warranted. If they have a reasonable belief that there's a possible of serious bodily harm to themselves or others, you know what I mean? So when you say throw a brick, you got to qualify in what context. But the best one is the pointing a gun, because it's kind of like, okay, so someone has a gun, okay, and they pointed at you. Like, I mean, you have to be the most lunatic person to be out there and be like, well, just because they pointed a gun at you doesn't mean you should kill them. Some people could have some level of debate about the gun thing, but that's a very tiny group. Most people are like, yeah, we get it, right? The brick thing requires context, but the spitting, So, as you can see in the title, I said they're threatening to kill people, and it's okay. Here's why. Americans are very emotional. So, if you want to control Americans, as a politician or otherwise, billionaire, elite, whatever it is, 1%er, all you need to do, and it's fairly easy, is tap into their emotional vulnerabilities. For a period of time, racism was a very powerful move with the more liberal and left-leaning people, but apparently they've used that so much now that people are just over it. So, I mean, although people still try to use, race baiting or whatever, it's really not as effective as it used to be. I don't see you just today. I don't see you just saying, oh, they're racist, and then people are gonna be like, yeah, whatever. Not saying it doesn't have any impact, but if that's your thing, that's why a lot of them will try to do the anti-Trump thing. That's more effective, right? Trump we see as a danger, and you can definitely tap into that for control. I think I'm making a wrong turn here. But as far as this situation with the police threatening to kill people, so here's the deal, right? You have a population that's super emotional, doesn't have a good control of their feelings, not so much on thinking logically and critical thinking skills. So here's how the formula works. You have a bunch of protesters that are protesting something that you don't agree with what they're protesting, right? You don't agree with the protesters, you're on the other side, right? So the protesters are annoying to you. So that's an opportunity to make money. So me, as a content creator, I can tap into how emotional you are about how upset you are about the protesters because you disagree with them, right? So I'll make videos highlighting how stupid the protesters are for clicks, right? And I'll just find the craziest, like I'll totally ignore, the core argument, what they're trying to do and what they're saying, and I'm not gonna steel man them. I'm gonna look for the most ridiculous representation of the protest. Any violence at all, even if it's not directly connected to the protest, I'm gonna highlight it and look, and they're killing people and this and that, and I'm gonna bombard you with it, feeding into your dislike of these protesters, right? I'm gonna make a lot of money doing it, right? Every day I'll post a video. Oh, look, the protesters did this and they did this and and I'm just gonna fuel it. I'm just throwing fuel and fire. So the fire's already burning. We didn't start the fire. It was always whatever. So so the fire's already burning for the anger because you don't agree with the protesters. Content creators fuel that fire even more. And then you get Americans so charged up that no rational thought exists anymore. So a police officer in the United States of America, right, we're supposed to be good guys, can, not just police officer, like a police chief or something, can get on camera and threaten to kill people, right? I mean, directly. You throw a brick, you spit, we're gonna kill you. Now that is completely un-American. That is not in alignment with our Constitution and our principles. And anyone who's a real conservative would be seriously offended by, not necessarily offended, but they would have a serious problem with what that police chief said, because a police officer is not judge, jury, and executioner. The only time that they're supposed to be killing people is not supposed to, allowed to, is when their life is in danger or the life of others are in danger. Now, of course, if one of these people making money from getting people angry hears this video, they will very smugly respond and say, they'll try to create a scenario where the officer's life is in danger and it is warranted, and try to suggest that I'm implying that an officer should just sit there and allow himself to be killed. Right? So they'll come up with the most crazy scenario, like, look at this guy, this liberal guy. He thinks that, as an officer who has a family and kids to come home to, and is risking his life to protect the safety of people, like this very guy who's attacking the police, right? So you as an officer, someone is coming with a brick. Do you know what a brick could do? And like spending all this time like building up this scenario of like something where it would be warranted to potentially use lethal force. Like total like straw man. Not what I'm arguing, but that's what they'll do. And it'll work, again, because Americans are very emotional, right? So you'll fall for that trick. You'll fall for somebody mischaracterizing what I'm saying and try to make it look like I'm suggesting a police officer should just sit there and just allow people to do whatever. People come with a bunch of bricks and the officer's supposed to be with his non-lethal only, or like it is as if that's what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying, right? I'm trying to illustrate how the game is played, right? And the game is played so effectively that is why a police chief saying, you spit, you throw a brick, we're gonna kill you, can be totally fine, right? I don't think he's gonna have to resign, or it's gonna be big. Even the liberal media like CNN, MSNBC, I mean, sure, they're gonna get some clips off of it, but they're not going to be, I don't think, tremendously outraged. It's not gonna be. I mean, there's so much stuff going on, so I get that part of it, but I don't think there's gonna be an appropriate level of outrage about what that officer said, right? And I want you to help you to understand why that is. I want you to realize that if things were reversed, whenever you're unsure about this stuff, about what's really happening, just reverse things a little bit and then think about how it would come across. Joe Biden won. Oh my goodness, he won a second term. Oh no, Grandpa Joe is president of the United States, right? And some America First people, they of course, I mean, again, Americans are just clowns at this point. Like it's like a nation of children. So, the way to make money if Biden won would be to pretend that he didn't win, right? Couple all kind of make up some weird conspiracies and show some video clips of like Wagon Gate, Sharpie Gate again, and so many millions of Americans be like, "Oh, I knew it! Oh, they stole the election!" Right? And then you say like, "We gotta fight back and we gotta take back the country," and then you plan a bunch of protests, right? So imagine in that world, right? That universe. So MAGA's planning a big Take Back America protest, or whatever they call it, right? Some stupid name, of course. They're gonna come out in their costumes. You got all the little childish MAGA men with their pot bellies, wearing their GI Joe costumes, and I got a beard, I'm a real man. Look at me, I'm a beard man. And they're gonna come with their big ass, what's the really big truck? I guess I got 650. They can roll up in like a Ford F-650. I'm a real man. Look how big my truck is. You want to know how big my dick is? Well, it's as big as this truck. And the little stupid little don't tread on me flags and whatever bullshit. Now I think I've adequately painted the picture. Now, a liberal police chief says, if you spit, if you throw a brick, if you aim a gun, and again, I told you why he puts the gun in there, right? They're trying to confuse you guys. Officers, we will kill you. Promising to kill. It's not things, led in that direction and you had no choice. You're from the beginning saying, listen, we're gonna kill you, man. Imagine that. A liberal police chief saying we will kill you. Then imagine if the conservatives' favorite, what is she, Attorney General? I forget. The lady that they were going after because she went after Trump and she ran on going after Trump. And what's her name again? In New York, whatever her name is. She goes and says, listen, if you guys run over Trump supporters, if you go to a protest and a bunch of MAGA people surround you or whatever, you have a right to do what you need to do. Can you imagine the outrage? And it wouldn't just be the MAGA people. You see, this is the thing. It's like there's the reality of America and there's the fantasy that these influencers present about America, right? The so-called liberal media, they would also be not at the same level of MAGA, but you'd watch CNN. CNN would be like, is this appropriate for Attorney General, a Democrat Attorney General to say that it's okay to hit Trump supporters? Is that a little bit divisive? Like, oh my goodness. That's what they would say. You see CNN, MSNBC. If Democrats go too far, is this messaging bad for Joe Biden? But now, because Trump is president, right? The MAGA police chief can go out there and say, if you spit, you throw a brick, we're gonna kill you. And CNN's like, well, this is interesting. By the way, guys, look what this police chief said. Make some money off the clicks, and they're like, in other issues, Trump has a military parade. Let's talk about that. But again, if it was reversed, if it was a liberal police chief talking about we gonna kill you, MAGA, if you surround our liberals in the streets protesting, and you throw bricks, we will kill you. And if you block, if MAGA, if you block a liberal car, right? And they have a right to run you over. They didn't say those exact words, right? See, that's the difference with someone who has integrity versus the average right-wing media. They would literally say it like as if that's what the person said. They didn't say that. They didn't say you have a right to run over people. They went right up to the edge. They definitely said enough. You want to talk about what's it called, stochastic terrorism on steroids. The impact of telling the entire country, at top levels of government, attorney general, whatever, the wording that they use, knowing how many lunatics we have in this country. If someone doesn't maliciously try to run over a protester, not because they felt afraid, but just because of these people emboldening them, if that doesn't happen, like, I don't know, that would be strange. that would be strange. That would be strange, man. It's almost a guarantee someone is gonna get seriously hurt or killed because some lunatic heard these people in Florida saying, listen, you have a right to do this. And unfortunately, the other part of America is a lack of integrity, right? And in this moment, it's not just a conservative thing, but in this moment, conservatives, right? But it's not just a conservative thing. So there will be people who will play games and try to talk about this when what we're talking about is this. And what I mean by that is, so you'll have these sick, disgusting people emboldened by these MAGA politicians who go out and maliciously hurt someone. Has nothing to do with they felt fear for the life, whatever. But there'll be dishonest conservatives who will conflate this idea of someone who was, fearful of their lives, right? And it's like, that's not what this is, right? And then if you push them hard enough, they'll be like, well, okay, well, that's not what they meant. They weren't talking about that, and that's unfortunate. But the other people, and there's just one video I saw. Never, ever concede. Never give up, never surrender, never give up, never surrender. Right? You can't ever concede, man. There's no concession. No concessions. There's no point in time where you will admit that these MAGA politicians are wrong. They're un-American. They're betraying the values of this country. They're betraying what the founding fathers wanted for this country. This is un-American behavior. The idea of this overt threat to kill people, the idea of not having any sort of consideration or delicacy in your wording, knowing that we have so many mentally ill people. So when you talk about the right of, and again, this is this dishonesty, right? You have one scenario where someone's life is generally being threatened, right? So here you are with your family and your kids are in the car and you got a bunch of lunatics surrounding your car, right? And they are putting you in danger and you're trying to get out, right? And then they're blocking your car, blocking you from leaving, and it's a genuine hostile situation, right? That is the situation that they'll want you to focus on and keep talking about and keep referencing, and they'll ignore the assholes and the sick individuals who, and it's not a new thing, we've seen it, who will intentionally try to run people over, right? There's the people genuinely threatened, and then there's the people who are actually going out there maliciously trying to hurt people that they disagree with. Here's a critical detail I want you to realize. The same people who will agree with what these politicians, yeah, that's right, and you should be able to defend yourself, and the same people saying that, they won't have any energy or any focus or any care. They're not going to be posting on social media any kind of pushback about the idea of sick people intentionally trying to run over people for no reason, right? Now, if I corner them with what I just said, in that moment, they'll respond, of course I would support that. Of course I understand that. That's not the same thing, right? But what you need to notice is that without me pushing that point, they'd never bring that up. They would spend time on social media and talking and proactively, sort of bringing up this idea of these protests blocking or whatever, and if they threaten your life, you should knock them over, right? But you won't see them initiating any concern or disgust for the ones who are doing it maliciously, right? So you have psychotic people who are doing attempted murders, right? And you don't have any fire for them, no energy for them. You're not posting on social media. You're not bringing up that topic. It's not enraging you, right? However, you interestingly do have that energy and will bring it up and will post on social media about the crazy protesters surrounding and whatever, and if they threaten your life, you should be able to run them over, right? You just sit there and allow your family to be injured, whatever, right? But that energy doesn't translate to a bunch of protesters that aren't surrounding a car, that aren't being violent, right? But it's a sick individual in the car who is looking to injure people that they disagree with, and now those people being emboldened by government, that, right? Whatever. That's America. Why can't you be like two colored conservative boys, Ricky Manor and Big Ward, the genius? Both of them boys love Trump. I would come up with a funny response to that, but I'm not a comedian. Haha, Ricky Raccoon Manor is a flip-flopper. He loves Trump, hates Trump, loves his white daddy, Massa Trump. Big Ward. Okay, so we have a bunch of Ricky Manor people coming in. So yeah, that's the dynamic of the country. So the reason why chief of police can sit there and threaten to kill people and be so loose with his words, like, let me tell you the difference, right? So you talk about the running over protesters. If you're not a savage, and if you're a patriot and you love America and you have some integrity and you have some intelligence, as a political leader, when you talk about these topics, you're very, very delicate in what you're saying. Even as you're being aggressive, you can be very aggressive. I want to take an aggressive approach. I want to let people know that this, behavior will not be tolerated, or whatever. If you threaten the lives of people, right? Even if that is the angle you want to take, if you are a patriot, if you do love America, if you do have some integrity, you will still be delicate in your words. For example, you will very clearly delineate two different scenarios, right? You will say to the American people, right? So if you're like a Florida politician or whatever, you will say to the American people, listen, this is Florida, right? And we respect people's right to protest and freedom of speech. So first of all, you clarify those things, right? You let people know, like, no, we actually do support freedom of speech. So you let that be clear. However, what we don't support is the idea of people threatening the lives of others by basically surrounding their vehicles and then attacking the vehicles. And then you talk about that this is basically assault. And I guess you could categorize it with other forms of assault, like this would be the equivalent of, someone's walking by and you kick them, or somebody, these are all forms of assault. These are crimes. And when you're also sort of trapping someone where they can't move, you're committing a serious crime, right? And if you are doing that and you're in front of a vehicle and you're doing something, and the thing about it is, first of all, you see, this is the thing, because I'm not a savage like these people are. Even in me, like, I'm not a politician. I have a small audience. There's going to be 5 people to see this video. I still am uncomfortable in talking about this because I'd want to use the right words. And that's the whole thing. Like, if I were a politician and I wanted to be hardcore aggressive against these, people putting other people's lives at risk, number one, I would talk to my attorneys and I would have them clarify for me where the law stands. Right? Because I'm sure there's a certain thing in terms of use of lethal force. If you talk about running somebody over, that's a use of lethal force, right? So there's a certain realm at which that is okay. And I would want to, from speaking to my attorneys, find what the right language is to illustrate that very clearly. I want to make the people very clear that if you're doing this thing, which is threatening the life of someone in their car, they have a right to defend themselves. And if you're in front of the car, and I think even in that sense, you should still be interjecting in there. No one should be intentionally trying to hit someone with their car. That should be avoided at all costs. And that's the kind of thing with someone who's not a savage, someone who's American, someone who's a patriot, right? Because if you're an American, you're a patriot, you don't want to enable, lawlessness. So the idea of someone who is not threatened, but is just attacking someone because they disagree with them, you definitely would not want to be anywhere near that. So you'd want to make it very, very clear that people threatening your life in this way is wrong. And just like in any other scenario, you have a right to defend yourself. And if they're in front of your vehicle and you have no, and that's the other thing, it should be clarified. Like for example, if someone's in front of your car and you feel threatened and there's absolutely no one behind your car, right? It shouldn't be acceptable that you run them over. You should hit reverse and back out, right? And that's the kind of thing that you'd want to specify if we're not a savage, if you were not ultimately corrupt, if you were not anti-American, right? Because America, in terms of we're supposed to be the good guys, we shouldn't be a country like some other country that we look down upon, where people just like, I don't like your ideology, I don't like your whatever, so I'm just gonna kill you, right? And then you have normal people gonna pretend like, the only thing to worry about is people who are innocent, people who are actually threatened, right? They want to talk about the people who are not innocent people, who are being emboldened by these politicians with their sloppy wording, right? Not clarifying the difference between. So let's forget about the wording, because again, I am not an attorney and I'm also not a politician. I also have a very small platform. So I don't need to get into specific wording, but I can talk about the principle. The principle would be, I would clearly delineate situations and individuals who would be potentially, see, even then I would still want to give a little bit of warning there, because it's just like, for example, I forgot was it something, castle doctrine or something, stuff about protecting your property. There's rules. It's not just, actually, let's use that as an example. That's something people may be more familiar with. So obviously the rules vary based on where you are. But the general idea is that, if someone's coming into your home and threatening your life or whatever, you have a right to defend yourself, and including lethal force, right? But again, depending on the jurisdiction, details matter. So I'm pretty sure in probably most jurisdictions, if someone comes in your house and threatens your life, and you tell them to get out or whatever, and they say okay, and they turn their back and they start walking out, like if you just let loose and just like blah 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 blah, I think in many cases you're probably going to be convicted successfully of murder, except maybe Texas and Florida, because like they don't believe in the law apparently. So I don't think you're gonna get. So again, it's context. So for example, so to as an analogy, what they're doing is example of me talking about this right that you have of protecting your home, and being very sloppy and saying, if someone comes on your property, and they're threatening you, you have a right to kill them. You have a right to defend your property in this country. And listen, I'm gonna let you guys know, you come in Florida and you come and threaten someone in their home, they will kill you, and they have a right to kill you. Like that is just equally sloppy and irresponsible, but it would also work because again, Americans are so emotional, right? So you get people charged up with videos of like, oh, the criminals are coming and they're coming into your home and the crime wave and right? So they're so angry, oh, people trying to kill me, right? And then you say, and if they come in your home and threaten you, you have a right to kill them. And you're like, yes, that's right, we're damn right. You're not even thinking. You're like, bro, on what context are we talking about here? Like, if somebody comes in my home and says, I'm going to kill you, and then they just walk out, like, can you just run them down and kill them? It's like, he said he was going to kill me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if someone comes in, if someone like, if you leave your door open, right? And someone runs in off the street and run into the front of your house, and they're like, you guys are stupid! You guys are stupid! And then they run out. Can you run them down and kill them? You know what I'm saying? Like, What is the context of like, oh, if you threaten someone in the home, you can kill them, right? That's equally as irresponsible. But again, it would be allowed by people who are emotionally charged against like, oh, everything, crime everywhere, and it's not safe in America, and everybody is shooting and this and that, oh, crime wave, right? You talk to those people, and you can say any kind of savage, anti-American thing, and they'll be like, yeah, damn right, America, hell yeah. Because I don't know what they're teaching us in our schools, but a lot of Americans are just stupid. They lack critical thinking. They're super emotional. They're super easy to manipulate by politicians and elites. And this is what they do, right? They play these games and people fall for it. So that's why a police chief can go and say, we're going to kill you. And then it's just kind of like, I don't know. But if a liberal police chief says that against MAGA, oh my goodness, oh, is this too far? Is this divisive rhetoric? Is this what America has come to? By CNN of all people. Anyway, this is the Debate Me channel. Debate Me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. And I'm out. So, I guess we'll be talking tomorrow about who gets seriously hurt or killed because somebody ran them over. And if it's malicious, we can expect right-wing media to pretend like it wasn't malicious and try to, throw fuel on them. Oh, they were threatening them and this and that. Somebody breaking the window. But in all fairness, if it is a really threatening situation, just the kind of situation where that kind of action might be warranted, we can expect the left wing to pretend otherwise. And they'll come up with some kind of angle where, he was there to antagonize, right? Because it's all about the tribes. I mean, it's especially true for the right-wing movement in this country, but the left wing is absolutely a tribe and very tribal, which is why, even though a bunch of morons think like I'm some left-winger and I'm out here defending the left, many of these far-left people would be happy to see me die because I am Satan. Don't forget, I'm a evil landlord. Oh, landlords are evil. So I am no ally. They are no allies of me. I may agree with a lot of what they say in terms of the fundamentals. Disagree a lot on the execution for sure. But I'm not an ally of the left or the right or the center. I'm an ally of America, and I'm an ally of truth. That's my tribe, the truth tribe. Fuck all the other tribes, right? I can be friends with you. I can have some respect for you, but I'm not down with your tribe, man. I would happily dismantle and see your tribe not exist anymore, right? Not the left not existing or the right not existing, the tribes, right? Because in reality, if you look at the conservative ideology, there's good things to it. And if we had an actual conservative movement, not just by label, we could say, okay, we disagree on certain things, but, at least there's some kind of a rational, there's something to it as opposed to just insanity, which is the right-wing movement. Same thing with the left, right? If we look at the fundamental ideas, the things they talk about, healthcare and housing or whatever, on the fundamentals, I would say a lot of good stuff there. I certainly agree a lot more with what they're talking about fundamentally than what the right is talking about. But then we look at actual movements, right? We look at people like Cornel West, being someone that a lot of them were supporting, and we're just like, eh. It's like housing for all, yeah, right? Everyone should be paying fair wages, yeah. Let's support Cornel West. Oh. What? Who?